Okay, it's day 3. I've shown you guys what I do on my rainy days. I've shown you a pasture workout. Now I'm gonna apply some barrel racing tonight just to get her in shape. So today is May 5th. My rodeo is on May 14th, May 18th, actually. So I only have a few days to really get her back in shape. Now the last time I was on her was yesterday. She felt really slow, out of shape. The mechanics weren't really firing. So I'm gonna do some drills tonight inside that's gonna have her engaging her hind end and starting to use her front end a lot more. So we've done a couple of days of trying to build up the muscle here with a lot of backing and a lot of long trotting. And then yesterday I tried to get her underline sucked up a little bit more by having her expand her lungs and take in a lot of oxygen outside with some breathing, which is where she felt really slow. But I did have some swelling on the right hind leg that I treated with just no liniment and then back on track wraps through the night. Looks a little bit better tonight. I'm going to do some more leg care after I get done here, so I'll show you guys that also. It's going to get a little ranchier as I ask her to utilize her body inside the arena around some barrels. So I'm putting front splints on. I'm not doing anything on the back, but I am using front splint boots and then dynamic edge bell boots. I'm using my competition saddle and I'm using my breast collar because when I'm at home, things get a lot ranchier actually than when I compete on the road. So I'm wanting her to carry more weight now than she does when I compete. And I really wanted to move up to Cowboy's ranch saddle and do more exercising with that. But since my schedule only allowed for me to come at night, I'm not going to take her out into a pasture or world champion horse where it's crazy dark with a bunch of brood mares. We're going to do everything inside. So I'm not going to be doing a lot of endurance and speed stuff like I was planning on. So I'm using that competition saddle instead of something heavier. Now when I go back this week, when I get back from this clinic, I'm going to go back outside to the pasture and I'm going to be utilizing a lot more weight to make her really struggle through and fight through that workout. So now it's time to go work her on the barrels. I'm going to use a Sweet 6, which is what I used on her yesterday in the pasture. This is actually the tie-dye fairy and Neffy's bit, but I'm going to borrow this to put on Baby Flo tonight. These are my competition reins, so I'm wanting it to feel a lot like it does when I run. These are biothane. They're made by Cactus Saddlery. They don't have any knots in them, and they're just a rubber that's really, really grippy. And since I'm going around the barrels, I'm going to take my rein grip a lot more seriously. So no split reins, like a lot of people like to go slow and do drills that way. But on a horse of this caliber, if you have a really hot horse, messing with split reins and German martingales and things like that are going to make you feel like you're always grabbing for something and you're lost and you're not actually able to concentrate on the drill that you're wanting to do. So we're going to have something a little bit stronger than our competition bridle, no tie down, no cavison, and then reins that are similar to mine that I will compete in just to get my muscle memory back and going at the same time. So let's go work this pony. Okay, let's start this workout. So I'm just getting on and asking her to kind of move her shoulders around, see where she's at. Now she's a lot less fresh than she was the first 2 sessions, so I'm able to kind of play around with it a little bit. Rarely am I able to walk around on a loose rein, but I'm starting to experience a more mature Baby Flo. So I'm going to get to ask her for a little bit more as far as skill when I'm doing these inside the arena late night workouts. I used to think that there was something horribly wrong with Baby Flo whenever she would have nights like this because she is a really hot horse. My dad asked me, hey, did you ever think that maybe she's growing up? She's 11 now, and there is Knick Knack, who is 12 this year. She is doing fantastic as well. I wanted to ride around with Stormy and coach her up so you guys could see both of these mares working these drills and seeing a different perspective with 2 different riders. So I'm just going to ask Baby Flo to long trot around this arena. Now, this is tough for her to do because she starts to get really hot. And again, I always tell you guys I want to work on speed and direction, but rarely both at the same time. So as I start going around the arena, I've got a little bit of light tension on her face, but not a lot. Stormy's able to ride around with a lot looser rein because Knick Knack stays behind the bridle a little bit easier. Baby Flo tends to get a lot stronger. So you can see that we're just asking them to loosen up, which I love because we're able to get these mares to do a little bit more because we've knocked a little bit of the fresh off with the 2 previous sessions. Now, my hands right here have never been able to be like this on Baby Flo, so I'm really excited about her starting to be this way, and hopefully you guys can experience that on your hot horses too. As I'm going around too, you can see our horses start to pick up a little bit of lope. On a hot horse, if they start loping around and acting silly or going sideways, the best thing you can do is just relax. the more you try to resist them or pull them back, the worse it gets. You can see baby Flo is waiting for me to get a little angry. She's swatting her tail. She's waiting for me to do something with my legs or my hands. And instead of giving into that, I'm just going to sit and relax. I don't love that her shoulders to the inside and her head's pointed to the outside, but instead of really, really picking on her face, which I really want to do, as you can see by my hand, I'm just sitting still and enjoying the fact that I'm able to keep this pace with a more loose rein than I normally am. Now, for you guys on a lazier horse, if you want them to stay in a lope and they always kind of break down to a trot, I like to kind of swat at them with some leg pressure or the end of an over and under to make them keep pace all the time. Really makes me angry when a lazy horse won't do anything or stay up to pace. It makes the workout really exhausting. So as you can see, baby Flo is even kind of being a little naughty with switching leads and crossfiring in the hind end. No horse is exempt from having these kind of days. So I'm asking her to be a little bit more well-behaved and using her nose to the inside, her shoulders to the outside, since she's decided that this is such an easy workout that she's just going to crossfire and be on the wrong lead, etc., etc. Now I'm asking these mares to stop, and I have a little coaching session with Stormy, and I tell her, hey, why don't we ask these mares, since they're doing really, really good, to do a few little lead changes. Now, my barrel horses, now that I have Cowboy start and Stormy season for me, now we're a lot more sophisticated, where I'm really asking them to do lead changes and counter arcs and counter canters and all sorts of stuff. But with baby Flo, when I started her, I just broke her good enough to get by. Now that's not the case. I've really leveled up. So I've started to ask her for a few more things later on in her career. And I told Stormy, since they're loping around, they're being really gathered up, let's go ahead and do some flying lead changes to make their minds work a little bit harder. So as I start loping around here, I'm going to attempt to do some flying lead changes. Now, they're not perfect by any means. It's not something that I started her doing until much later in life, till she'd already won a world title. So it's something that you guys, can play with as you start to get a little bit more sophisticated, asking these horses for their nose and doing things a little bit more difficult. But again, her lead changes aren't perfect, but it does get her mind working. And I like to do that with the barrels set up, because she's so worried about the barrel pattern and hurrying around and kind of being prancy and a little bit, not really staying behind the bridle. So this gives her a little bit something else to worry about. Even though they're not perfect, she gets a little speeded up. She crossfires sometimes. Her head comes up. She swats her tail. All those things. But I can get my barrel horse to really start focusing on a tougher job. And then into this workout, it starts to look like a ballet between Stormy and I doing a horrible impression of the Dressage Olympics on our wild barrel horses. But we had a lot of fun just being a little bit more technical and really asking a little bit more from these horses. Now that we've got the girls good and warmed up, it's time to do a barrel drill. This is something I do on baby Flo constantly. This is something to prepare her for the rodeos that are coming up. This is just big spiral circles. So I think that I get a lot more gas out of my mare, and I'll prove it with the next session, her going in and outrunning a large group of horses. But with this drill, what I want to do is keep her way outside. So a big, at least 8 to 10 foot circle. You can see how naughty she's being, crossfiring, jabbing in the back end. That's from being out of shape. Your horse is going to do it too. And then I just make her stay 8 feet out. I don't do what I call the baby Flo turns on her here, because I'm trying to get her to engage all 4 feet. Sometimes on a horse that's really rady, what they'll do, or a horse that turns really hard like baby Flo, they get in the habit of cheating the turns. So they'll cheat certain things around the turn in order to make it easier on them. And what they don't do is engage all 4 feet around the barrel and be the fastest they can possibly be. So what I'm asking her to do is keep her nose to the inside and keep all 4 feet moving forward. Now, she's obviously really, really good at this drill, but some horses you're going to find just get really rotten and want to trot right there. So stay at a lope until you get a lope all the way around the barrel. I wouldn't necessarily correct your horse for crossfiring in the hind end or simply not being able to keep up the lope. I would give it a few days. So 4 or 5 days in a row of this. Make sure you do your aftercare like I'm going to show you in this video a little bit later, because your horse is going to use muscles that they probably haven't ever engaged before. You can literally take a horse that ran 5 minutes before and take them through and ask them to lope these circles, and they will not be able to do it. So don't feel bad. We're just getting these horses in superior athletic shape, and sometimes simply running the barrel pattern is just not enough. I never believe it's enough. So you can see I'm trying to not make this a teardrop circle. I'm trying to make it balanced all the way around. That doesn't mean that we always achieve it. You'll notice as Knick-Knack goes around, she's a horse that likes to get super flat on the backside. So I'm asking Stormy to make her go up and give a little bit more bend and a little bit more room on the backside. Now, as I'm coaching Stormy, she's trying to understand everything that I'm telling her to do. So these circles aren't as even as they normally should be, but she's learning. So this is what's going to happen when you get in the practice pen and start to work these drills. You're going to go around, and when it feels really balanced and good, again, we don't want that teardrop circle. We want a big, pretty balanced circle. Then go ahead and stop your horse and reward them. Please reward your horses. So many times at clinics, I have to tell people to reach down and pet their animal. They get so focused on how they're riding and how they look that they forget that they've got an animal underneath them. If we treated these things a little bit more like puppies when they do something good, I think we would get a lot further. And that's just my hippie opinion. So as she goes over to the second barrel, she's going to work it. And I like that she's working this really big. Now on the back side, as she comes down and she starts to get a little bit closer, this mare's going to get flat and over finish this barrel. And I'm going to correct Stormy and tell her I really don't want that flat finish right there. I want her to go back and make it big and round on the next time through. This mare has got a tendency to roll over top of the barrels. So you want to exaggerate everything you're doing in practice, and we don't want a horse that's going to flatten out and finish up really tight at home if we know that she does that even more away from home. So I just had a quick chat with Stormy about, hey, make sure that on the backside she's not getting really flat and straight. We want that nose to be round, because if you'll see, there's really only been one horse that turns super, super round and wins, and that was Martha, Babyflo's half-sister, with Lindsay Sears. That mare stayed really, really round all the way around her barrels. But for the rest of us that have normal horses, what they're going to do is they're going to be really round in practice, and then they're going to get really flat in the run. So what we want to do is make sure that they're over rounded so that when they go back and they're really flat, they're extremely fast, and we're utilizing all the techniques we possibly can. I'm going to shut my pie hole and let you guys watch Baby Flo so you can really observe, or turn the volume off and go back and watch this entire video. I want you to notice when she crossfires. I want you to notice when she takes her head away from me. I want you to notice when she gets really angry with me, and understand that you've got to give these horses a hall pass and just hold your ground. Just keep your attitude really good and understand what progress is. So progress is just making it feel a little better. When she grabs her head away from me, I am going to get it back and go one more circle. I'm not going to get mad. I'm not going to pull on her. I'm not going to get in a fist fight with her. I'm just going to go around this barrel and say, you know better, and I'm going to stay here until we get it right. Okay, I've let my mare rest right there, and I'm going to have Stormy go right back through because Knick-Knack was being pretty naughty around this flat spot at the first barrel. So she wants to get it right. She's having to go way out, make some bigger circles to be able to get this mare to come back in and pay attention at 8 feet. So I want you to make sure that you know that it's okay to make a much bigger circle than come back down to that 8-foot circle. Now on other horses that have a tendency to run by, we're going to do a different drill where we make them stay really, really close to the barrel. But for now, on these two horses, that's exactly what we're going to do, is try to get that motion out of them, because I think we can get 3 to 4 tenths faster cleaning up and making them use all 4 legs as strong as they possibly can at every single barrel. I decided that I'm going to wrap up the night running some polls on Baby Flo. We were just having a really fun night. Baby Flo was super into new things. I just wanted to cruise her through, see how she felt. Now, the last time I took her on the polls was when I broke her as a 5-year-old. And I thought, man, I've added all of these new buttons. How fun would it be to maybe haul her to some place and run polls on her and just let people see her do something different. She and I both kind of wanted to do something different. So I've been doing clinics and been staying really busy. And I actually wanted to use my horse as part of my hobby, which you should always feel compelled to do and have fun and do bonding things with your horse. I probably get to do that less than anybody I know. So I just wanted to go through and have a really great time. It was 10 o'clock at night and I just wanted to feel how she felt after 6 years off of not being around the barrels or around the poles, sorry. And it felt so amazing. I'm definitely going to haul her somewhere and just for fun, take her through the poles and interrupt. So I want you guys to see that she is using a Sweet 6. I've got it way down in her mouth. This head stall did not fit. I'm using biothane reins. And I wanted you guys to see what level of cardiovascular activity that she did. So you can see the vascularity in her neck. She's super hot. She's breathing heavy. And now I'm going to show you a great little cool out routine. Okay, I lied. I'm going to show you knick-knack cruising through the poles also before I show you the cool-out routine. But I wanted to just show you how, obviously, a lot of us get to do fun things on our horses. These are just asking these mares to go through and use their butts and their shoulders. And they've been around the poles twice in 6 years. So I think that they looked pretty darn good. And I know it let all... Hit it. All right, post-workout... I worked her really, really hard. I'm gonna do an old school liniment that I really love. It's called Beagle Oil. This is something that I do not like to put under a wrap because it will blister them. It's a very, very hot liniment. I'm gonna use it on her up through like her withers up here and then over her loins because that's a place that a horse that gets worked really hard is gonna experience the most pain. So as far as muscle soreness, if I were to push down right here, she'd probably be really tender to the touch. So this SI joint is where all their strength comes from. It's called the sacroiliac. And all these muscles are gonna tie into right here. So if she's not feeling really strong and healthy here, I'm gonna have a really hard time doing what I wanna do tomorrow. And tomorrow I'd really like to mat race her with knick-knack and brace her out in the pasture. So I'm going to first just put this on my hands. Not a lot of people like to put stuff like this on their hands. I do. Make sure that you're not allergic to any of this stuff before you start rubbing horse liniments all over you. A lot of people like to say, oh, if it's good for my horse, it's good for me. That is not at all the truth. One time I had to administer a shot to Chuck Taylor that if it pricked the end of my finger would stop my heart completely. So don't go by the if it's good for me, it's good for them thing. Treat them as a separate species as we should. Because their system works much differently from ours. And not necessarily everything we love, they love. So I'm not going to do any liniment on the legs tonight. I'm just going to do those two spots. Then I'm going to do the forerunner paste because as a post-workout, this is just so nutrient rich that it's going to help her recover a lot faster. And just like I do and Jesse and Cody and Stormy and all of us do with Man Sports, it's very similar for Baby Flo. This is her version of basically like BCAAs for a horse. Kind of has the same benefits. So that's what we want to do. I've done this every day for the last 3 days. You cannot hurt them. You can't give them too much of this. She's been drinking really good. You can see by her vascularity that she's obviously very healthy. So I'm not really going to treat her with an electrolyte until we travel. When we travel, I'm going to put that Forlight back into her program. But for tonight, I think that's about it. She's going to get reset on Monday. Shoes still look good. She is really long. But I'm going to leave her as is, and I'm still not worried about breezing out in the pasture. I think that we're at a safe place where I'm not going to pull a shoe or lose any hoof wall. So that's it for tonight. I'm going to tie her up and just let her dry off for a little while we visit and hang out in the barn. Then I'll turn her loose with her goat, and that'll be it for the evening. Okay, I hope you guys loved Chapter 3, and I wanted to give you a coupon code if you wanted to order any of the 4 supplements that I talked about. You can do that at FallonTaylor.com. Use code BABYFLOW20 for 20% off of your order. I love all of the supplements, so you can't go wrong, but read through there. There's a ton of them. Hope you guys enjoyed Chapter 3. I'll see you soon with Chapter 4.